Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Astrid Kaufman and Louis D'Souza going to be joining us very soon. Today is Monday, November the 25th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today. Your daily dose of happy, and I'm seeing Louis hook in and connect to us now, so hopefully he's going to be able to talk to us shortly. But Astrid, how you doing? I hope you've been having a good week and a good weekend and so forth over there in the UK.
Great weekend. Can't remember what I did, but hey, that's what it's like to be in the present, right?
Well, it must be good then if you can't remember it, right? That's what they used to say when we were in school anyway, but I'm not so sure it's really true.
That's true. No, I had a great time, whatever I did.
Well,
I did some Christmas shopping on Saturday. Yeah, that's what we did. On
Christmas
a gloomy
shopping.
day, we went out Christmas shopping. Yes, believe it or not. But I suppose you guys are getting ready for Thanksgiving there. So
we are, yes.
Yeah.
We've been preparing because we're having guests over this year, and Louise has been cleaning carpets and all kinds of stuff in order to get ready. So yeah, we're getting there. And
Great.
I also wanted to let people know, some people who have been around as listeners of the podcast for quite some time will remember that about a year ago, I started a Facebook group that kind of got going, and then it just kind of stopped, and I let it go, called Pivot Pals. And the general idea behind Pivot Pals was to provide an opportunity for people who were listeners to connect with each other, to basically help each other out. Give each other support and help each other energetically and so forth. And it didn't quite turn into what I really hoped for. I mean, there's a few people who made some connections there, but it didn't really go where I wanted it to go. So it just kind of died out and didn't really do anything for quite some time. And today I decided to resurrect it because I've decided to kind of try a different approach with it. So I wanted to invite people who are on Facebook to go check it out, ask to become a member just by doing a search for Pivot Pals. And the basic, it's now actually called Law of Attraction Pivot Pals. And the new approach is basically a sort of a combination of Abraham Hicks and Neville Goddard, if you will, in that what we're going to do is we're going to be posting stuff about what we're trying to attract into our lives, just create little vignettes about it and talk about it and get other people to respond to it and basically use it as kind of a tool for doing, I guess you might call it the daily affirmation online approach, but basically doing it in a group setting. So if it's something you might be interested in checking out, go over to Facebook, check out Pivot Pals, join the group, and we'll be glad to include you there. So with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, hello, Louis. You're hooked in. Looks like you're ready to go. How's it going at your end?
Very good, thanks. It's a busy day.
A busy day? Oh, well, yeah, a busy day means you got good things going on, so that's good. So, don't really have a topic in mind for today, although I do remember last time we kind of talked about the idea of doing a little bit of rampaging. But other than that, I figure we can just kind of go open forum, and if we have anybody, as usual, we've got Jeffrey in our live stream.
Hi, Jeffrey.
I'm not sure who else is going to come in, but I figure we can just kind of go wherever the mood takes us. So, let's see, what can we get going with? I would say, well, okay. One thing that I've been kind of working on a lot, and this is more Neville than Abraham, but it's Abraham too, is like I was talking about with this group that I've been setting up, or that I set up and that I have been kind of resurrecting on Facebook. Just spending more time focusing on little vignettes, little scenes that I imagine that are tied to, they're kind of like what I associate with manifesting X, whatever X might be. So, for instance, we have been growing the listenership here on LOA Today. Currently, I took a measure today. We're averaging about 450 listeners per episode, which is a huge increase over where we were even this past summer and about a little more than double where we were a year ago. And so that's good, but I want to get us up. The next goal I have in mind is to get us up to 1,000 listeners an episode. So I want to try to move that along quickly. So I created a little vignette in my mind, and that vignette was basically either one of you guys or one of my other co-hosts, I haven't really decided who it was, congratulating me on the fact that we reached 1,000 listeners, and then imagining what that felt like and so forth. And so I guess I know this is not your typical way of doing stuff, Louis, but I'm wondering, do you ever do anything equivalent to a vignette when you're manifesting stuff? Do you ever try to imagine a particular little scene like that?
Well, when I was younger and studying the gurus of the world,
The gurus.
literally, they were saying, fake it until you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me said, oh, I don't want to fake anything. I want to be a real spiritual guy. Completely misunderstanding what they were trying to point to.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of really got to me when I started the law of attraction. Like, wow, what they're trying to say is visualize what you want, because if you don't think about it, you can't manifest it. So did I create vignettes? Yes, many, many of them. The simple ones which I like using at the moment is, if not that, something better. To me, that one is always great. Yeah.
That's like that's what I would call more of an affirmation. I mean, a vignette for me is like a little scene where you're a part of the scene and there's something happening in the scene.
Well, when I say, if not that, something better, I'm going to give you a scene that I created on Saturday.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was at a school play, a school fair, which have a bit of a play my daughter was in, and I was feeling very good, and my little daughter was there, and my daughter's best friend's mom was there, and Eloise, my 4-year-old, another mom, and me. We were throwing this little squidgy ball we bought for our 4-year-old at each other. We were laughing. We were having so much fun. We were hitting old ladies, and it was just an absolute hose, this ball couldn't hurt a fly if it tried, but, we just, it's one of those squidgy, fluffy things. It's around here somewhere.
We used to call those Nerf balls, I believe.
Nerf balls. So
Nerf balls.
We were in such a good place, and then the tickets for the the raffle was coming up, and I thought, I'm just too lazy to go get some. I'm in such a good mood. I'm sure I'd win. And I was saying to myself, if not that, something better, So I just sat there, and my friend's mom went off. She was also in a good mood. We were all playing together, the three of us. We were on a high, and I said, if she's going to get tickets, I'm sure she's going to win. Absolutely, no doubt. So the raffles get called up, and she gets called up twice and gets 2 prizes. So I thought, this is cool. So well done. I mean, I knew you were going to get them because you were in such a happy place.
Right.
And then she looks at one of them and says, oh, you love Woodcote Nursery, and here's a high tea for 2. You have this for your wife and you. And I was like, if not that, something better. So, I'm sitting there with this little visualization going on, if I'm too lazy to go get the tickets, let the tickets come to me.
Well, not just the tickets, let the prize come to you. You just kind of showed up in your lap.
Skip the ticket part. Yeah. So, I learned to use visualization more than affirmations. I read one guru saying that, visualizations are far more powerful than affirmations.
I think that's true.
And I've taken that to heart from whenever I read that. It just seemed to make sense to me. So I've always visualized, things just getting better and better for me. I can't say I did terribly well today. It's been a bit manic. To put it mildly, there's so many things that have gone on today that weren't perfect. But they still flowed. They flowed a lot better than they would normally have done under those circumstances. I usually would have got more fried or angry or frustrated or thrown around or out of the vortex. But I kind of got thrown out and got back in quickly. And I made the podcast. I was like, wow, how did that happen? So, yeah, I actually got a meal in, although I had to drive away and come back again and leave the family there. And it was quite such a mess. But on the whole, everything just worked out, I thought I couldn't do something, but I could, and when I could do it, then I could go back to the meal, and just things just worked out. As I say, not perfectly, but perfectly. I don't know if you see what I'm getting at. Life is never perfect, but it's how you react to each individual circumstance that can make it perfect.
That maybe another way of saying it is not necessarily exactly the way you had originally envisioned it, but the way it worked out was just great the way it worked out because of the way you decided to look at it.
Yeah.
Which is actually part of the skill, I think, of...
It is, because life's always going to throw you curveballs.
Right, yeah, it just happens. Not that it's not possible to manifest exactly what you had in mind. There are plenty of people, plenty of times who do exactly that. But, sometimes we're a little off our game, and so, you basically throw what you think is a fastball, you actually threw a curveball, and then you wonder why it ended up in the left field seats. I mean, it just, whoa, wait, what happened here? Well, I guess I must have done that. Okay.
But you find that when you've built up your vibration to more often expect something to go well, to go right, to sort itself out, then it happens more often. It's really as simple as that.
That's true.
And
so, Astrid, are you a visualizer? I mean, do you do vignettes like we've been talking about?
I do, and the interesting thing is that when I have very focused intention, I'm very good at winning raffles. So, and I know exactly when I don't feel that focused intention. So if there's something I want in that raffle, I want that, and then I get it. It's just, it comes with a feeling. It comes with a sort of an unadulterated feeling of that's what I want. And then my number comes up and I don't have to do anything other than just knowing that I want it. And when I don't have that feeling, then I know I'm not going to win. So I don't even try, so, but actually visualizing something beforehand, I love visualizing and it psychologically, if, for instance, visualizing that you're by the sea is relaxing to you, then you can be by the sea, or you can just visualize that you're by the sea, but psychologically your brain is going to think the same thing, that you are by the sea. So there is something in that, So even just visualizing something, your brain won't know the difference. And I was told very early on, but I really, really, really experienced it later on in life when I really started practicing that.
Yeah, sure. By the way, we're getting a few flickers in your voice. You might try closing some apps in case there are some apps in the way on your computer there.
Oh, okay.
But I love that. I love how you describe that. In fact, both of you talking about raffles reminds me of a time long before I knew anything about law of attraction or affirmations or anything like this. Back when I was in high school, I won a raffle. And as I thought back to it, I've told this story before, but as I thought back to it, I was really adopting the perfect vibrational stance by accident. And I had no idea that I was doing it, and I won the raffle. And the way it worked was this. I was in high school. I was in the school library doing some homework and working on a research project of some kind. I can't remember what. And as I'm working there, a friend who, I kind of knew him. I didn't know him real well, but I kind of knew him, came up to me and said they were selling raffle tickets for, God, I don't even remember what it was, but they were selling raffle tickets. And would I like to buy one? And I said, I just need you to leave me alone. I need to work on this project. I got to get it done. I only have a couple of days left before the deadline. I really need to get this done. And Mike was very persistent. He was insistent. And well, it's only 25 cents for a raffle ticket. And I finally turned to him. I said, Mike, if I buy a raffle ticket, will you leave me alone? And he said, sure. I said, okay, here's a quarter. Give me a ticket. And I took the ticket. I stuck it in my pocket. And I go, oh, thank God. Okay. Let's work on the project now. Let's work on the homework. And I got really excited about, I'm going to get this done now because there's going to be no more interruptions, which was exactly the right vibration, and I didn't realize it. So when it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in homeroom, and over the loudspeaker system, the principal gets on and says, well, Walt Thiessen come to the office. He's won the raffle for the clock radio. I said, what raffle? I had forgotten that I was even in the raffle in the first place. So, talk about not having any resistance. I had none because I had no expectations and just, not having to even deal with the raffle ticket anymore. I felt so much better. I was in the best possible place I could be in, but I knew nothing about how any of this stuff worked. I just was there. I was just in the right alignment. So you never know.
Brilliant. It's a good example of non-resistance or low resistance.
Yeah.
And I was phoning a financial company in South Africa the other day, and I couldn't get through. The telephone connection broke. I couldn't. The person who I wanted wasn't there. They weren't getting back to me, and I remember phoning my brother Anthony, and I said, "I give up. I've tried." Mm-hmm. And as I said that, I said, "Good. Now that I've given up, I'm sure I'm going to get through." So I went straight on the call again, and I said, I phoned him, and I got straight through the lady. I said, "Geez, I got to give up more often."
That's right. It's a very powerful strategy to give up. Yeah. It truly is. Yeah.
The reason why I felt it so strongly that it was right was when I said to my brother, "I give up," I felt I meant it. I really knew I meant I'd given up.
I know for me, it's whenever I express something like that and I feel myself going, then I know that's the time. Right there. Do something big. Put out a big manifestation because I just released a whole bunch of resistance. So, yeah. And raffles, of course, are only one way to manifest things, but they make for fun stories. So, any other fun stories about how you imagined seeing a little vignette and produce something interesting out of it?
I'd have to give that a few seconds thought. Astrid?
Yes, I have to think about that.
Okay.
So, yes.
I mean, the thing about these are they don't have to be major manifestations. They can be just little things because those are the things that happen all the time anyway. It kind of ties into a concept that Alex King and I talked about, roughly a month ago, how so often we miss manifestations. We just ignore them because they're small, so many of them. They're small everyday stuff, and unless you actually take the time to pay attention and connect it to, that actually connects to what I was focusing on yesterday morning, or that connects to what I was focusing on 10 minutes ago. And unless you do that, you miss it. You don't realize you manifested all this stuff. So, I mean, it's not surprising that we can't just grab one, from our memories right now, because we're always looking for that really cool one. But we manifest stuff all the time, stuff that we visualize, and we just don't even think about it.
And that's, what you said is very true. That word ignore, when you ignore your feelings, your gut feelings, something is happening there. And I remember when I lived in London and I had no idea about the law of attraction at all. I went with some friends to a club in the middle of London, very posh part of London, King's Road. And we had a great time, but at a certain point, it was about 2:45 in the morning, I got a great sense of needing to get out of that place. And I gathered my friends, and by 2:55, I remember this very clearly, by 2:55 in the morning, we were out of there. The next day on the television, there was a news item saying that there had been a stabbing at this club.
Wow.
At 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
So,
oh my goodness.
So, is that part of being in touch with what's, that's part of being in touch of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Some people are more sensitive to that. I was just going, being a 20-something-year-old. I wasn't into anything spiritual or anything like that, but there was something that gave me a message, and I listened to it because it was really strong. And that was the beginning of me listening to these messages and sort of becoming aware of feelings and what they mean. Are they my feeling? Are they not my feeling? You know, a lot of our thoughts are not even our own thoughts. You know, they are thoughts that have been given to us by our parents and our teachers and our mentors, who we consider mentors. So it's learning about how, you know, what is our feeling and separating all of this stuff that we think is ours but is not, and make it work for us.
Astrid,
I know something's coming here.
Especially whenever there's
I'm
the
trying to
pause
find
right
the
after
most
it.
diplomatic way of saying this.
Yes, I know, Louis. That's why I put it in there, because I knew you would have something to say about that. Keep the conversation going. Go on. Hit me with it.
So when you say people have given us, you know, these teachers, the parents, etc., have given us these ideas and they're not ours. The truth of that is, when you believe that kind of concept that somebody can do something to you without your permission, although you didn't specifically say not your permission, I find it's very, very useful to understand that it was with your permission, 100%. You allowed that idea to come on board because you've got the power to unallow it as well.
Sure, she accepted it.
You've got a power to change that as well.
Absolutely. So, but I didn't know, and most of us don't know.
You don't know.
I wasn't aware. Now I am.
That ties into what I was talking about before. Well, no, hang on a second. Before you go there, that actually ties into what I was talking about. We, as humans, it's not just that we don't notice manifestations. We don't notice our own thought process so often.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And a lot of this is about learning how to, not just learning how, but learning to notice, learning to pay attention, learning to recognize, oh my God, I did that. Oh my God, I said that. Oh my God, I accepted that. Oh my God, I adopted that. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh my God, no video from Walt.
Yeah, and the video, well, nothing new there. It goes away every 10 minutes. But
video's gone. No, but that's so true, Walt. I mean, it is about separating. Well, it's about becoming clear about what it, you know, because so many people have this chatterbox going on in their brains. It's like this battle between this part of me and that part of me, and you know, and whose voice is it? Is it mine? Is it my mother's? And I'm not saying that I didn't accept it, because I did, because I didn't know any better, Louis. But when you become aware of that, then
there's the word aware.
Aware. You become aware of what's happening, and you become aware of what that thought is. Is it a thought that resonates with me? No, it's not a thought that resonates with me. So therefore, out it goes. You know.
That's deliberate conscious creation.
Absolutely. Yes, but when you don't know, you haven't got the power to actually send it on its way. It will have power over you, won't it?
But it's power that you've given.
I'm not saying it's not power that you've given. I'm not saying it's not power that you've given, but when you have that awareness, then you have the power. Then you have the power to create your reality.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you talk about the Nerf ball or the softball that you guys were tossing around. If you're sitting there and somebody just tosses you a ball and you weren't really expecting it, you just kind of grab it. Well, you didn't have to grab it. You just kind of did, you know. You said, "Oh, well, there it is. I'll just catch it." You didn't give any thought to it. You just kind of grabbed it. You're like, "Oh." You know, but when you become more aware, you can say, well, geez, I really don't want to catch it, so I'm just going to let it fall to the ground.
So let's break that concept down to vibrational. So I caught a ball, but I wasn't thinking about it. Now, we know that thoughts create our reality. So previous programming and thoughts allowed you to catch that ball. Yes? No?
Sure.
Okay. So it still boils down to thoughts. And it is programs that you programmed into yourself.
Yeah.
So as much as it wasn't an instant conscious thought at that moment in time. It was based on a previous programming of your own thoughts. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Which is where you take your own responsibility from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we want to learn about how we've programmed ourselves and the programming we've picked up from others, because we do pick it up. It's not that it's imposed upon us. I'll agree with that, for sure. I know that Astrid agrees with that too. But we pick it up, and we pick it up often unconsciously or semi-consciously. Very rarely do we say, I'm going to adopt this very dysfunctional behavior because I know that my mom would really like me to do that. It's not the way our thought process normally works. It's normally like, okay, Mom, yeah, I'll do it your way.
and I think a lot of people would disagree that that programming and thoughts being programmed is not imposed. I think a lot of people would say that,
oh, sure, it's a
those
popular
thoughts.
viewpoint.
Well, yes. I'm just saying that it's something that people would not agree with until they realize that you can change that. Because if you're not aware of what's happening, then you just accept it. You accept it because that's what you see. That's what you are getting. That's what is. I grew up in South America, and the only national anthem that I know is the Chilean national anthem. Now, come on, I've lived in many places, but it was I lived there until I was 9, and the only national anthem that I know is that one because it was inculcated into me. I mean, it's a lovely national anthem.
Sure, nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. But do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
Repetition, and it just becomes part of the programming. So
well, that's what repetition does too. By the way, the main point of repetition is not to keep thinking about the same thought in a conscious way all the time. It's to repetitively beat it into your subconscious mind, so your subconscious mind takes over. I mean, people who want us to repeat stuff are people who really don't want us to think for ourselves. They want to do the thinking for us, and they want to tell us, okay, this is what I want you to always be bringing up every single time that you get stimulus X.
It was fascinating. I heard a Catholic priest say to me once that if they managed to get a child from birth to the age of 7, that child will never leave the Catholic Church.
And I
sort of like the Hotel California.
And that song's pretty inculcated as well.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept, because as soon as the child becomes aware, even after 7, they'll start having the choice of removing that hold.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And the likelihood may be high, but you can never completely contain a soul that wants to go a certain way. Never.
Which is great.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
we're never going
thanks
to be...
Force for that.
That's right. We're never going to be permanent prisoners of it, which is a great thing. We can take back the power anytime we want to.
And that's what I love about the show, and anybody that's talking about awareness and law of attraction and matters of this ilk, where they're giving the power back to the individual so that the individual knows that they can make their own choices, they can make their own ideas, they can go their own way, they can believe their own stuff. And the freedom that gives people is amazing. And there's some core things that really help you understand that. And one of them is that you create your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very powerful. The other one is understanding the law of attraction.
Yep.
And, once people get those understandings and the emotions are your guidance, once you get those 3 pinnacles, you can really carve your own life out.
Yes. And the other one that I really, really am starting to get is that everyone creates their own expansion, so from their own desire. So, for instance, if I see someone who's doing really well previously in a previous life, or even not so long ago, I would have thought, well, that's competition or something like that. But now I understand that their reality is being created by their own desire, their own expansion, and that has nothing to do with my desire and my expansion. It's because our universe, our reality expands individually according to our own desire. And, when Abraham says in one of the meditations, when you see someone who's successful and your heart will sing, when you see someone who's successful, then your own reality will change, or something to that effect. And that's something that I've started to really get in the last few weeks.
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
So that's brilliant, Astrid. I fully agree with that. And I'm a very confident individual, and my confidence sometimes comes across arrogant and egotistical, and I get these other words thrown at me. And in the old days, I would have been knocked down by that. Now I say to them, "Oh, I look at that as confident, or focused or clear." And they say, and then they start realizing that every subject's two subjects, or maybe even have to explain that to the individual. And the way you're coming at me, your glass is half empty. It's not half full.
Yeah.
Because if you were looking at the positive side of what I'm putting out, you wouldn't be saying those things. You would be looking at another angle. And that's what I start seeing with almost everybody now. I almost see, even when they dig in or they're negative or whatever, I still see the positive in them. I still see that they're going through what they don't want to get to what they do want. And it's a process we all go through. Why do you want to bitch about it with this individual now? This just doesn't help them, you, or anybody. So, you just start seeing that everybody is source. Everybody's pure positive energy to the core. And that everybody's going to be taking their energy from there and then expressing it in different ways. And so the source energy is massive, and then you've got the little pipe where you are happy and you allow a lot through, and when you're unhappy, you're closing it off. When you're happy, you're opening it up.
You're pinching yourself off. Yes.
And it was quite interesting. I had this discussion with a healer, and they were talking about the root cause quite often. So I smiled and I looked at the lady and I said, "Well, is there one root cause for everything?"
Leading question.
And she said, her answer to that was, "That's a very deep question." And
that is an interesting question, actually.
And I let the conversation go around the room a bit, and I never ever got my chance to say what I thought.
No, I don't believe that, Louis. Not for 1 second.
If I tell you the people involved, you will know.
Okay. So, what would have been your thoughts on that?
So my answer is the root cause to all your ailments, to all the problems in the world, to everything negative is yourself. Do you create your own reality or don't you?
Yes.
That's a bit of a challenge, but yes, sure.
Yes.
By the way, I had an experience with somebody just yesterday who was... This is a person who definitely is not aware on any kind of deep level of any of the stuff that we talk about here. And talk about expansion. Well, Abraham describes how expansion starts with dipping your toe and then maybe even diving in under your, above your head into stuff that you really don't like, so you can discover what you don't like and make the U-turn to discover what you do like. But a lot of people like to stay on the don't like side. And this guy was a person who really stays on the don't like side. And he tried to pin me down on something. I don't even remember what it was. And I kind of gave what I would call sort of a vague LOA answer without using any LOA terms. Just, generally, I just don't think about that way. I prefer to think this way because I'm able to get more of what I want that way. And his response was, oh, you're talking about that new age manifesting stuff. That stuff doesn't work. And my first reaction, years ago, my reaction would have been defensive about that. Mm-hmm. This time my reaction was like, okay, am I allowed to laugh now?
Yes, I know. You're a perfect example of a manifestation.
But you talked about how you can see in everybody the fact that there's source energy. And this is a guy, I mean, I could, at that moment, just see, first of all, I could see his energy in that way. And I could see how much he was like holding everything in. It was almost like you could hold, you could see him wrapping his arms around himself. That's not what he was actually doing, but you could almost see him wrapping his arms around himself, trying to contain all of this energy that's in there that was trying to burst its way out there. It was really interesting.
So the question is, you guys, why is there so much of that? Why do we do that? Why do we always want to get stuck in what we don't want? Why do we always get stuck in the negative? Why is that? Why is it like that? Why not always feel good? Why do we want to always feel bad? So is it because there's a perspective to that so that we can know so that we can know contrast? But why do we need to get stuck in it like that? Because by default we want to feel good and we do things so that we can feel better.
So perspective and awareness. Perspective and awareness. So the individual looks at negativity like most of humanity does. They haven't been taught. They haven't been taught. They haven't had the awareness that it's an expansion point. It's not negative.
But why, by default, do we all seem to be stuck in the negative until we relearn that we can create our reality in the positive by knowing what we want, by being happy, by feeling good? That's what I'm talking about. Why, over eons, has it developed that? It seems by default, 99% of the population is stuck in this negativity. Why is it that way round? Why is it not the other way round?
I blame Abraham Hicks for not coming earlier.
That's a very good point. Abraham did come, but no one would listen.
That's right.
Because Abraham has been coming for a very long time.
That's right.
I mean, Jesus is Abraham, all of these prophets and okay, I've answered my question.
Well done.
Good one, Lee.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have kind of come to the realization that people who fit that criteria you're describing there, Astrid, people who just seem to spend all their time focusing on stuff that they don't want, I think on some level they like it.
Well, yeah.
They're enjoying the drama.
So. Yeah. I think they're actually enjoying it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe life would be too boring otherwise. If we always felt good, it would be too boring.
I mean, they'll go out of their way to defend it. You challenge it in even the slightest way, and no, this is definitely the way to be. This is the only way to live. And you say, wow, okay, well, have at it, go for it. But it's a reminder. It's a reminder that everybody values things differently. Which is a lesson that I was able to learn through non-LOA terminology years ago, but LOA has really helped me to crystallize it, to focus it to a level of clarity that I never had before. Because literally, everybody values things differently. As much as we like to say we have similar values, and often we do, it's amazing how often we don't. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how often people value things differently, dramatically differently.
I always remember that all the individuals that went traveling a lot was so much more interesting for me to speak to as a kid. They had such different perspectives and all the rest of it. When I traveled a lot, and you live in countries where people believe something so completely different to where you were brought up, you start appreciating that
the diversity.
A lot of the rules and ideas and concepts that you're brought up with are just BS. They're not necessary. They're not required. They're there just because somebody said them often enough and you took them on board. You took the active vibration, put them inside yourself, and you started living it. So you start shirking a lot of those off, and that's why I think I always liked the guys who traveled a lot, because they didn't have so much of that.
Well, yeah, if you're traveling a lot and you're doing it without pissing off the locals all the time, you kind of have to develop a tolerance for all these different ideas that you don't like.
To. Because to piss off an entire country is a bit difficult.
Well, no, it's not difficult. It ends up in a firing squad, but yes.
What I meant is getting your point of view across, so that a lot of them take it on board. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's much more difficult, no doubt about it. But it's an interesting point you're raising, Astrid, because we end up getting confused at times about how all this can be happening and all this craziness can go on. You see people get into the hot seat in an Abraham Hicks workshop every once in a while, and then just going off on, okay, I've been doing this, I've been applying this and all that, but the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And then they just go into their little rant about their particular view about how the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And I sit there and marvel. I say, wow, so much passion. They must really love that.
So much passion, indeed.
And I love Abraham's answers to those, too, because the answers are always great derailers.
Yeah, I remember one of the best stories, Abram. One guy came up, he was trying to be a little bit cocky, I think. And he said, Abram, why does my dog like putting his head out the window where he can get stung and, can get hit by something and all the rest of it? So Abram said, that's one of the best questions anybody's ever asked her. And everybody was a bit shocked at this answer, even I was, I must admit. And I was like, and then they said, well, the dog's weighed up the two pros and cons. Putting the head out the window, having the fresh air blow in his face and the ears flop, and versus maybe a bee coming along or something else. And it knows which direction it wants to go. And, that's how we really need to look at life, Weigh the two pros and cons up and go with the one that feels better.
And that's
it.
it.
Not overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink it, no. Path of least resistance lands up to the path of most allowing. Just go, go, go.
Overthinking, too, is also usually about trying to find a way to make yourself bend into something you really don't want to be, to make a choice that somebody else wants you to make. And
oh, wow. Yeah,
that's pretty miserable. I know that from experience. I have a lot of experience with that one.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to get away from that after a while. But then again, I have to say, on some level, I think I wanted that because it led me to learn about the law of attraction.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, it goes back to my story in the sauna about the guy who, I've said this recently as well, but it's just such a great story. I enjoy saying it again.
I tell stories all the time, over and over again. Just do it,
So, this guy was really enjoying what I was saying and all the rest of it. And, I saw him in the sauna now and again. And there was one lesson where I was talking about there is no such thing as good and bad or evil, all the rest of it. So he comes back the next time and he says, Louis, I like a lot what you're saying, but there's definitely evil in the world.
Okay.
And I said to him, yeah. So I know you've been an alcoholic in your past and you've had a lot of problems. So, have you done evil or bad to others, and have others done evil or bad to you? And he said, you have no idea of how it's been. It's been absolutely horrendous. So I said to him, now, are those terrible things that have happened in your life, have they not carved you into the beautiful, clear-eyed teaching Christianity classes, etc., that I see before me today? And, begrudgingly he said, well, yes. And then, you really get to understand what negativity is, what evil is, what you don't want is. It's just an expansion point for you. It's nothing more. And, it takes people a while to integrate that into themselves and really get that, oh, shit, that's happened. Oh, all right, I know I don't want them to do that, so wouldn't it be nice if they did that? And it's a process that is, I repeat again and again to many, many different people, or even the same people, because it's something that probably I need to learn more and more and more of, It's just a concept that I'm tweaking, that I'm seeing more often in my life, that I'm catching more often in my life. And it really makes it's really a very, very, very good transformational concept.
Well, we teach what we have to learn. So
yeah. We teach best what we most need to learn.
Richard Bach.
Illusions page. No, I don't.
It must have got filed. It must have got filed in my brain because I read it ages ago. Nice one.
It's a wonderful quote too. I love that one.
Mm.
Well, I don't know if you knew, Astrid, that Louis and I actually did I think it was a 10-part series on the entire book Illusions. We did it like chapter by chapter, read the whole book and
Fantastic.
talked about it. Yeah.
And far easier than any other book.
Actually, it was ironic. In one sense, it was
just so easy.
That's just it. It was so crystal clear what he was saying that there wasn't a whole lot of discussion.
No, we couldn't say too much.
That's the nice thing about Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard can be pretty confusing, so there's a lot for Cindy and I to talk about.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Too much clarity can confuse. No.
Well,
no, that's not a correct statement.
No, but there's another piece that kind of ties in a sense with what you're saying there, and I've noticed this a lot, and this kind of ties into also what we were talking about, expansion points, and about how we do as a human race tend to focus a lot on what people think of as negative. Very often, focusing on what feels good and what's positive, we get there so quickly that, oh, well, I guess it's over. And there's nowhere to go with it. Okay, I got there. Where's my prize? There's nothing else to talk about. Whereas with something that's negative, oh, God, we could talk about the drama for weeks at a time.
That's true. And that's so much fun. Yeah. It becomes such a soap.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Soap opera,
Yeah. I mean, that stuff that drama gives us is like an endless source. Talk about source. It's an endless source of interest. So I guess it's one more reason to say we shouldn't be really surprised by the fact that people will defend to the death their right to be miserable. As funny as that sounds to say, it's true.
I mean, I suppose it's also the reason why soaps and films, drama films are so popular.
Oh yeah.
I mean.
Well, they play with contrast, that's really it.
Well, they play with contrast, and then there's usually a happy ending, which makes
I don't know, have you watched EastEnders?
No, not anymore. No, I do not.
I'd rather hang myself than watch that personally.
Yes, I totally agree. I used to watch it.
It's so depressing.
I
started off with Dallas when I was young, and it's
I watched that.
Big cars and big people and big ideas and big things. And you come to EastEnders and you'd rather just kill yourself.
No, it actually is.
Small ideas, small people, small things, small everything.
Yeah.
And so popular. It's like, what does it say about?
It's been going for about 50 years or something. 40 years? I don't know. So there is something in that.
Yeah, there is. And that is, it's a reflection of the awareness level of society.
Well, it's also a reflection of how wealthy a company like Procter & Gamble is, because they started the whole soap opera thing by selling their soaps on television with these programs, and that started in the 1960s. And they're still
I wonder if they called them soaps because you need to soap yourself off after you watched one.
You have to clean yourself off, yes.
It was all about selling Oxidol. Oxidol, that was the big product that they sold early on.
Oh my goodness.
Who killed Larry Hagman? I remember that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, we were all on tenterhooks.
We were.
I mean, I was a kid and it was like, oh my God, the biggest news since they put a man on the moon.
I was wondering where the second half of the sentence was. The first half of the sentence was, who killed J.R. Ewing? I thought the second half would be so we could shake his hand, but that never actually came out. I never understood that.
Well, he never died, did he? So he could have.
No, he never did.
No, he never did. So. Yeah, that was a big program.
That was huge.
It was huge.
And the youth today do not understand that. It's just there's no ways they can understand that.
Well, by comparison to something as huge as like some of the major social media apps today, by comparison to that, it's tiny. But for its day, it was large. It was really, really large. Because it was what we experience today with social media is constantly being pounded with 1,000 soaps, whereas there was one. So it's a different experience when you only have one big one that everybody's talking about.
I'm watching my 11-year-old daughter's WhatsApp group where she gets 1,000 messages every morning. And that's a soap. Oh my God, that's a soap.
That is.
And you're actually a bit part of it.
Yes. Yes, it's the self-creating kind. So,
that's very interesting
stuff.
Yes.
Hey, before we go too far, and I don't have enough time, I want to make sure I get the promos in. So just a reminder, like I said toward the beginning of the show, the goal right now, the next milestone that we're aiming for is 1,000 listeners per episode, and we're almost halfway there. So that's my kind of backhand way of saying, if you're not yet a subscriber, we really would love it if you could become one, because you'll just help us build up that number. But also you'll get something much more important than that. You'll actually get something nice to listen to, something that feels good, something that actually ties into the best of you rather than appealing to your lowest desires, which is going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. I mean, if you're used to listening to soap operas, you're going to say, what is this stuff? I've never heard this before. But it's all worth it. It's all good, and it's a great way to help refocus your mind on what it is that you want, which is what we've been talking about all hour, rather than what you don't want. So just become a subscriber by going to loatoday.net. The instructions on how to do it are right at the top of the page. And check us out also on YouTube, because as we are recording these podcast episodes, we live stream to YouTube, and you can actually check us out and see what we look like in addition to hearing our voices. So subscribe either way, and but do subscribe. We're very fortunate that we have so many people who have subscribed, and our listeners are very, very loyal. Something like 85% of our listeners of every episode are subscribers. I've been able to calculate that out, and so that's just very reassuring. But for the other 15%, we want you to join too. So become a subscriber, join in the fun, and hey, also take a time if the spirit so moves you to send us a note. Send us an email. Use the contact form on the website. Contact us by Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever your social media tool of choice might be, because we love hearing from our listeners, and we'll even, if you're willing, we'll share your message with other listeners about what you said to us and how we responded and so forth. But it's so much fun when we get that kind of interaction. Sometimes it actually gives us a chance to talk about it, too, on the show, doesn't it, Louis? I mean, occasionally we get...
Absolutely, yeah.
Something like that. Or Astrid, like when we had that question about Jinshin Jutsu, it gave you a chance to kind of go off on that for a bit. So,
yeah, love doing that.
Lots of fun. Yeah. So subscribe and share and tell everybody about it so we can keep spreading the word. And thank you very much for being subscribers. And thank you guys for continuing to share your insights. I need to ask you, though, do you guys have, I know you don't have Thanksgiving there, so you don't have the same kind of buildup we have going on here in the United States leading up to Thursday. But do you have anything going on this week that's of interest that you're looking forward to?
Well, no, I have a very busy week, and I'm seeing lots of clients, so that's basically my normal week, really. But I wish everyone in the States a very happy Thanksgiving. So I have lots of friends in the States, and I hope you all have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody over there. And you asked me if there was something that I'm excited about that's going to happen this week. Well, I bought a PC, and I'm waiting for it to arrive.
Oh.
A lot of components and stuff. So I'm going to, as you know, putting these things together can be quite exciting for some of us.
Some of us are a little bit masochistic in that way.
So I'm really excited about that. I'm just dying to get my hands on these new kit.
Is it an Apple?
No, I eat those.
Good answer, Louis.
It's funny you should mention computing, too, because I've done a fair amount of medium-level programming in the past, and I kind of had left it behind. And very recently I decided I was going to try to take it up again to write some code for a software package for the gardening services business that my wife started and that we run together. And so I've had to learn a couple of new platforms. A platform meaning a kind of programming language that is appropriate for the project that I'm doing. And so I was for the longest time kind of putting it off, like, oh God, I really don't want to have to learn another language. There's so much work involved in that. But I've gotten to the point now. I've been diving into it for the last couple of weeks, and it's actually kind of building up the juices a bit. And I'm getting excited. So I'm hoping that I can really make some good progress the next couple of days before Thanksgiving, because much to my amazement, I'm enjoying this.
Well, make hay while the sun shines, because you know that's the time. That's the time. It's the same with my website of starting to train LOA. Really starting to get excited about it now, and I've had to have a whole lot of thoughts sort themselves out in my mind before you can kind of get to that place. Now we can start writing it. So, yeah, we're looking for people to trial it. If somebody's interested, they can send me an email, louisdesouza@gmail.com, and yeah, we're only going to have 8 people on the trial. There's going to be 2 of us running it, and I'm looking forward to it. So looking forward to it.
What kind of trial? What are we talking
about? We've got 3 different levels that we're going to be training LOA at. We're going to start with the beginning, intermediate, advanced, and there is a website which I don't really, it's not complete yet, but we've got a lot of the information all out there already. And we've got all the different bits and pieces. I can go into it in greater detail when we've got a little more time. I know we're already over time.
We started a couple minutes late, so we have a couple minutes left. So if you want to take a minute, talk about it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is have every week we're going to have a video conference call. And we're going to start right from the beginning and explain all the steps for the basics, and then we're going to move them on to the intermediate. And it's just a trial, so it's going to be free. We're only going to have 8 people on, max 6 to 8, and we've already got 2. So, and this is the first time I'm mentioning it to anybody in the podcast. You're more than welcome. If there's more than we need, then we're just going to put you on a waiting list, and we do any other trials or anything, we'll let you know. But we're really excited about it. The website's coming on beautifully, really a lot of information, a lot of clarity. It's very simple. We've tried to really dumb down to make it simple and clear, because I can get all over the place, and I've got somebody who's really keeping me in tow there. So, I love Yvonne, and she's just great. I just get along so well with her. You had her on the show once, Walt.
Yeah, sure.
She's got a great story as well. So, so we're putting that together, and we're looking for people. So anybody who's interested, please sign up down here. What's the YouTube button? Subscribe here. No, just email me at louisdesouza@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
And for people who have spelling difficulties, spell out Louis D'Souza for them.
LOUISDESOUZA@gmail.com.
And there it is, folks. All right. Well, thank you for the preview, and hopefully some listeners will take advantage of that. I'll be curious to know what results you're getting out of it. I kind of imagine there's like a test study aspect of this. So once you've completed your results, you'll have to tell us what you learned from it, because I think that's what you're probably trying to do. You're trying to learn from it and figure out.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to structure it in the best way possible. I think one of the biggest challenges is really time zones, because I know we're opening this to the world. So to find time zones that fit most people is going to be the challenge. So
I understand, because I used to start off a show listing times, and I finally gave up, realizing that there were over 24 time zones around the world, and it would take me half the show to list them all. So I said, no, to heck with that. So I get it. But anyway, thank you guys very much for your insights, for your sharing of all that really good stuff, and love the ideas you brought up, particularly about expansion and expansion endpoints, because every one of us needs to really be cognizant of that in order to be the best conscious creators we can be. So thank you guys very much. Thank you, live stream listeners. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners as well. We will see you all next time here on LOA. Bye-bye.